Attention bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, yodelers! We're coming from a galaxy from a long time ago. Far, far away, right? Is that close?
Galaxy, long time ago. In a galaxy
Far, far away.
Far away.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes, we are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I'm your host, Japheth, with
Jackie.
and
Luke Starkiller.
Starkiller. Whoa.
No, just Peter.
Okay.
Just Peter.
Just Peter. And today we are doing a secrets episode for Star Wars. Just fun information about the original trilogy.
Yes.
So each of us has picked a movie, and we've found some cool things that we wanted to share with you because our fans like Star Wars.
Yes.
And secrets.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very evident that our fans like Star Wars and secrets. Based off of what we see with our prior episodes and how many people are actually listening, those two topics tend to be our most popular. So.
And even if you don't like Star Wars, it's okay. We've got fun facts that could, enhance the movie experience to where you could like it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a fan of Star Wars. I enjoy watching it, but I do not know all the little details in and out, and so...
Where you see, the ice cream maker, and then you're just like...
The
oh
ice
my
cream maker, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's an ice cream maker, prop.
There's a guy running around Cloud City with an ice cream maker.
And anybody who's ever made ice cream before goes, that's an ice cream maker. And hey, everyone's running for cover, and this guy's got an ice cream maker.
They actually brought it back in The Mandalorian.
They did.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, it's what the Imperial guy is holding all the Beskar in, that container.
Oh.
That's the ice cream maker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, those little things that I would totally miss.
Yeah. So it's one of those, as for an older generation that's
Yes.
seen ice cream makers, and then they're just like, oh, wow, why is that guy carrying one? Oh, end of the world, grab something, ice cream maker.
The Empire's here, get the ice cream maker! Get to the shuttle! Grab your valuables.
You know what? Maybe Vader got rid of ice cream because he can't eat ice cream.
Doesn't go well.
Outlawed.
All right, so we're going to start off with Peter. He's going to start off with A New Hope.
Yeah, so just so everyone knows, obviously there's not going to be too many references to Star Wars in this one because that's obviously the first one that ever came out. So I'm going to be avoiding talking about other movies' Easter eggs that relate to A New Hope because that's those movies' Easter eggs and not this one. So a lot of it is a lot of inspiration behind and some behind the scenes things as well as changes that were made through the many different edits along the way. So we're gonna start things off with the title of the movie. So when they were the original title. Do you guys know what the original title is for Star Wars: A New Hope?
I think I had learned it years ago, and it's eluding me.
So there was the production name, which was called, I think it was Blue Harvest, something like that. But the actual working title for a long time was Adventures of Luke Skywalker, Journal of the Wills.
Oh, wow.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, that is a mouthful.
Yes, it is a mouthful. Which the Wills does get referenced in the Clone Wars series and the last season on Netflix, not Disney Plus, with Yoda actually visiting the Wills people.
Oh, yeah, that's such a great...
That was a good story.
That really, brings the larger story of the Force when they bring up the Wills.
So that's a little Easter egg there. So when Star Wars first came out, 1977, when the crawl happens, When it first came out, all it said was Star Wars. Did not say A New Hope.
Didn't say episode.
That didn't happen until 1981. So when 1981 hit, that's when it was A New Hope was added to it. When it said Episode 4, A New Hope. The crawl was inspired. So the crawl, what you see the
yellow
writing, letters
Mm-hmm.
flying in
story.
space, telling you the backstory of what's happening. That was inspired by old Flash Gordon clips, because that's what they did.
Flash Gordon.
Oh, before that, Flash Gordon.
Oh, that guy. Where he's on the
Yes.
the treadmills flying around shooting people. If you haven't seen that, like that's a science
That is an-
mystery
What
science
is it?
theater kind
80s Flash Gordon is a fantastic film just to sit, laugh, and enjoy the cheesiness.
You just
of.
go, what am I watching? As soon as he jumps on that he's like, that guy's on a treadmill, and that treadmill's flying.
Pretty much. Obviously Star Wars was this big phenomenon, and it appealed to mass audiences when it first came out. And a lot of that is because it really drives from many different other stories, other cultures, other movies, and things like that. For example, like the whole Luke Skywalker story arc is literally the story of King Arthur. A farm boy runs into a magical wizard, gets a magical sword,
I
and
never
becomes
thought of
a
it that
Jedi.
way.
Yeah, that
Obi-Wan
makes
is
sense.
Merlin.
Obi-Wan is
He's
Merlin.
a magical wizard. I love it.
So, literally, the story of Luke Skywalker is the story of King Arthur. So, and they even kind of reference that in the sense, in the scene where C-3POs get an oil bath and they're kind of introducing each other, and he's like, oh, my name's Luke Skywalker, and he says, I see, sir. Yeah. So, a little foreshadowing to him becoming a knight, a Jedi Knight later on.
I like it.
Let's see here. So, the main theme song for Star Wars, right? Super iconic. It was actually inspired by another movie's main song from the movie called King's Row. And I listened to this song and I'm like, yeah, that sounds like Star Wars.
Wow, John Williams ripped off another
Yes,
film.
he
Good
did.
job.
John Williams ripped off another film.
He's like, I don't got time for this.
I bet
the
the
main
original
theme.
writer of it was like, they stole my song.
It's not the same, but you can definitely tell there are similar themes and build-ups and things like that.
It's like the Led Zeppelin like lyrics and song rip-offs where people are like, you hear the originals that they're being accused of ripping off, and you're like, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, I feel a little awkward. I can see it.
Oh yeah. All right, so moving on. So now I'm literally kind of going through the movie as it plays out. So that's how I'm literally telling it. So the next part, you'll see the iconic space battle with the Tonta 4, the Rebel ship with the Star Destroyer, and that probably one of the most iconic film sequences in the entire Star Wars trilogy is that whole the ship going over the camera and wondering when the ship was going to end.
Yeah.
That was inspired by a sequence from 2001 Space Odyssey.
Okay.
They were doing a similar thing from the side, not as dramatic as the one in Star Wars, but that same instance of whoa, this is a big ship
Yeah.
compared to that other ship. So so there were a variety of different deleted scenes which you can now see on Disney Plus. I believe they're all on Disney Plus. If you go to A New Hope and go to the extra section, you can see these deleted scenes. There were scenes with Luke hanging out with his friends, as well as Biggs,
Oh, yeah.
which you see later on. And they actually witness the battle in space. So Luke Skywalker's looking through his binocular, seeing the space battle from the
Cool.
ground.
That's kind of cool.
And it's a very interesting scene, and they're all kind of making fun of Luke and how he's not going to go anywhere and things like that. So instead of just droids for 30 minutes of the film, there was a sequence with Luke Skywalker. You were introduced to him before, but they decided to scrap that and introduce him later. Which, if you go to the end of the film, when Luke runs into Biggs and that big reunion, for us as an audience, we don't care because we've never been introduced to this character.
They're like, oh, cool.
Nor do we care when he dies. But like
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker he was introduced in this deleted scene that never came to be. Let's see here. C-3PO, his physical design was a design of another robot in the movie Metropolis.
Oh, yeah.
A civil female robot. But obviously C-3PO was gold with a silver leg, which I learned the backstory behind the silver leg was that at one point a bomb was planted in C-3PO's leg that went off, and that was just an available leg as a replacement that hadn't been dipped in gold. So, little side story about C-3PO's silver leg. The Empire were all designed based off of the Nazis. We got stormtroopers. There's a lot of
Yeah, you see it with the helmets that they wear.
Yeah. They're
Kind of the clean Hugo Boss design uniforms. Yeah.
When they were designing it, they wanted to contrast the difference between the Empire, which was all like monochrome colors, black, white, gray, with the Rebels, which were earth tones, browns, greens, those earth tone colors.
Bright orange
jumpsuits, earth tone.
Yes.
Just so you could see
Didn't
them
say
in
what
space.
part of Earth. Just we got the Sedona Mountains.
We're looking at lava.
Right. Let's see here. Darth Vader's breathing. Do you guys know the origins of his breathing? Where that sound comes from?
Mother Yoder's sleeping at night.
No, it's scuba gear. It's the gear for breathing
The
for
respirator,
scuba.
yeah.
So that's where his breathing, everyone likes to replicate it. It's from scuba gear. So that's where his breathing comes from. The movie was filmed in Tunisia, and the town where they filmed a lot of Mos Eisley and things like that was in a little town called Tatooine. Spelt differently than what they called it in the planet.
They didn't want to get
Pronounced the same,
Yeah.
but spelt differently. Then you get into the Sand People, and they ride on these creatures called banthas. These banthas were elephants.
Yeah, Bantha Poodoo.
They covered Bantha Poodoo, yep. They covered them up and
Can you bleep that out? That was kind of obscene. That was a little vulgar.
inappropriate. Poodoo. But yes. Okay, so there's a scene. Luke Skywalker just gets attacked by the Sand People, by the Tusken Raiders, and they're kind of rummaging through him, trying to see if he has anything valuable or whatnot. And then you hear this weird noise, and that's coming from Obi-Wan Kenobi, which he's making the noise of a crate dragon. Yes.
Okay.
Which
So that
we see in The Mandalorian.
Yes. So the funny thing about this, they've changed that scream 3 times. So they had the original one in 1977. Then they changed it for the special edition. Then they changed it again in 2004. And again in 2011. And the scream now is almost disturbing what that scream is
That
now.
came from you?
Right, it's all this is coming from Sir Alec Guinness. I might put it in here because it is the most absurd noise that he makes now. It is really sounds like a 10-year-old pretending to be a ghost. Guinness, okay.
Here, Bentley, put on this sheet here and act like a ghost.
Right. So the phrase, one of the most famous phrases in all of Star Wars, "May the Force be with you." That was not the original phrase. The original phrase was, "May the Force of others be with you."
I could see that.
And so it made more sense when like random non-Jedi people to say that. But then they decided to take the of others out to make it more mystical and, really go into the mysteries of the Force. So definitely a positive edit, I feel.
I think so.
Next we have, you like this Easter egg. This little fact that you never get to see, but just knowing it totally like changes the whole feel of any scene that he's in. It's Tarkin's shoes.
Oh, yes.
You want to share this one?
So, the actor, I don't remember his name, he was known, and
He's a well-known actor.
well-known actor at the time, and he was kind of a diva. He didn't like the boots.
They didn't fit him right.
They didn't fit him, and he just he's like, I'm not putting them on. You just have to film him from the waist up, and so you will never see his boots, but you'll see him in Clone Wars, the cartoon. He's got boots on.
Right.
Yeah. Now see.
He was wearing slippers.
Yeah.
He was just wearing little comfy slippers on set.
He blew up Alderaan wearing his slippers.
Got out of bed. What am I gonna do today? Oh, I gotta go blow up Alderaan first before I get myself ready to go.
Princess Leia's like, no, not in those shoes.
So yes, he's wearing slippers. Now we're in the famous, cantina scene. Lots of random creatures in there. A lot of them have been edited out. I think I remember hearing that there was a giant celery there. George Lucas was almost
fruit.
Yes, total veggie fruit vibes. George Lucas was super he saw the filming of this, and so he's like, we're gonna turn all the lights really dark. So there's a reason why that scene is super dark. It's because all the characters are super ridiculous looking.
Yeah, you had the devil looking dude.
Yep. They have a guy wearing a NASA spacesuit. And you can these are ones you can still see today. The ones that haven't been edited out. There's the Wolfman.
Yeah.
He's in there as well. Now a little backstory behind Harrison Ford and how he got the role of Han Solo, because he was not supposed to get the role.
He always gets the role after.
Right. So the story is Harrison Ford had worked with George Lucas on the movie American Graffiti. And so he asked a favor. He says, hey, can you help us casting for this Star Wars movie? Just read this character's lines for Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia and things like that. And he did so well in that George Lucas just offered him the job.
It's good to work with people that already know.
Well, that was the thing. That was what George wanted to avoid. He didn't want to work with anyone that he had worked with before.
He didn't want anybody already famous.
Come on, you didn't want to have Ron Howard as Luke Skywalker.
Right. So, that was a little fun fact. Now we're at the Han shot first scene.
Totally shot first.
Now this is the most controversial scene of all Star Wars.
And it's been edited.
Several times.
Yes.
I have it here. So in 1977, the scene goes on, and before, Greedo's threatening Han Solo, and Han Solo shoots first and kills him. Okay? Then, in 1997, for the special edition, they changed it so Greedo shot first, and then Han Solo, which if you watch, take a look at Han Solo's neck, because he does this weird sideways just slide to the right.
The electric slide.
It's this kind of weird, almost it looks really weird, he's Stretch Armstrong neck, which is kind of funny. But George Lucas gave a reasoning for this. He says something on the lines of he didn't want Han Solo to be betrayed as a killer. that he was defending himself in order so that him and Princess Leia could get married. So he wanted to protect.
Don't want to be
that
too
sort
much of a
image.
scoundrel.
Yeah.
Right. But obviously, fans hated this, and you see tons of merchandise that says Han shot first and things like
It's
that.
like Rudy's offsides, with the movie Rudy.
Yes.
They show the original film and he's like way offsides and he gets the tackle. And so.
Right. Even so much that even people at Lucasfilm, when they were making Episode 1, they made a scene that got deleted. That's why I'm bringing it up, because it was deleted. With young Greedo picking a fight with Anakin. And at the end, they break off. Anakin goes with Qui-Gon, and then Greedo goes with his friends. And they tell Greedo, literally, starting again, and this is all subtitled. It says, starting again, Greedo, everyone knows that you shouldn't attack someone first.
Oh.
So that was, but they pulled that from the movie. But eventually in the 2004 edit, they made it so that they fired at the same time. So not necessarily pleasing the fans so much, but at least, he didn't shoot second.
So remember, the Disney Legends books, or not Disney, the Legends books for Star Wars, the backstory was that Han's jacket was actually Greedo's jacket, and that there was some beef because apparently Han came over and was a bully and took his jacket, and that's why Greedo was really mad. And so when you see Han's jacket, it's really Greedo's jacket.
Oh.
It was in the books. It
Right.
doesn't mean anything
It's
anymore.
not official
Disney's
canon.
wipes it out.
Yeah, that is not canon at all, but it's fun to hear
fun
those
to
stories.
hear.
That was probably one of my favorite books to read. Was the Mos Eisley
Stories
Cantina
of the Cantina, yeah.
Tale. Yeah,
That was a great one.
They have little stories about all those characters you see in there, and it really enhances the movie experience. Just learning those aspects of
Even
it.
if they're not real, it's still fun
Be
to
like,
go
oh, that's the
back.
guy. He's really a rebel spy, and oh yeah, he
Yeah.
works for the Empire. It's fun.
So moving on, so we go to the next scene, which was originally a deleted scene, but they brought back, and that was the scene with Han Solo and Jabba the Hutt talking.
Yeah, he
So
walks over him.
he walks over his tail, which because in the original scene, Jabba the Hutt, when they originally filmed it, Jabba the Hutt was just this really fat guy.
Yeah.
He was just a really fat guy. He was not this giant space slug that you see in Return of the Jedi. So there's a part where he walks behind him, which is kind of hard to do with the giant slug. So they edited Han Solo to be walking on top of his tail. So Jabba the Hutt gives this weird "wah" noise.
It's so bad because you see, you watch that scene and then you know what Return of Jedi is like, and you're like, okay, Jabba's this big, and then
Yeah.
Jabba's this, and he's the crime lord, and Han Solo just walks on top of him, right?
But no.
no consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did, in the special edition, they added Boba Fett. So technically, Boba Fett made his first appearance later on, technically in the holiday special, but
Technically.
we'll say Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
But they edited him in for the special edition to be a part of that scene.
So
as
they
well.
could sell action figures for that.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so now they're in the Millennium Falcon. They're on their way to Alderaan. Alderaan blows up, and so they actually head to Cloud City. The original plan was them to go to Cloud City, and that's where the actual Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight scene was going to take place. Obviously, that got scrapped, and they just went... And then they were going to go from there to the Death Star. Instead, they just cut the whole Cloud City out and did everything on the Death Star. Let's see here. A fun little fact about the Stormtroopers. So if you look at the Stormtroopers, they got a bunch of gadgets and things like that. And something I had always thought about, they had this weird little case that's on their lower back, on this tube. So I always assumed it was some sort of rope or, where they...
Flashlight.
Yeah, something like that. Apparently in the original script, the Stormtroopers were all to have lightsabers. And that was going to be the thing that held their lightsabers, was that little tube in the back of on their lower back. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I'm glad they did do that.
Right. So now they're at the part where they're trying to sneak into the prison, and they they get into cell block 1138, which is an Easter egg to one of George Lucas's early films, THX 1138, which you see that reference in so many other films, not only all of George Lucas films, but even all over Pixar films and things like that. So like you see THX 1138 like Easter eggs everywhere. Also, they reference Princess Leia's cell, which is 2187. That is in reference to a short film that George Lucas really liked at the time. It's kind of weird. Not really the most fascinating short film, but it's also something that's used later on in The Force Awakens because Finn's number FN 2187. So they brought that back for Finn.
It'd be funny if, like, Finn introduces himself to Princess Leia, says his number, she has total PTSD and attacks him.
Right.
What's up? It's just a number. It means so much more to me.
I just think about my family dying.
My dad torturing me.
All right, so now now we're at the part where they're in the garbage. They're in the garbage
Chute compactor.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, well, now I'm going to take you back all the way back to the beginning of the film. We're on the Tantive 4, so the rebel ship that's flying over Tatooine, and the rebels are all getting ready to shoot the stormtroopers as they come blasting through the door. Well, that door is the same door that's used on the door of the garbage compactor.
I gotta watch that.
No.
It's just painted a different color, so...
Oh.
Them you reusing
Recycle.
props. That's it. Makes sense for the garbage compactor. They recycled some old props. So they didn't have to throw that out. One of the most famous Easter eggs is the stormtrooper hitting his head.
Yeah, that's a fun one to watch for the first time. Like,
So-
he totally hits his head.
It became like this favorite thing for all Star Wars fans to watch this stormtrooper as they're barging in the room where C-3PO and R2-D2 are kind of hiding out.
The command center.
The
room.
command right above where the
prison.
Falcon is.
Oh, it was in the Falcon?
It's right
Okay.
where the Falcon is, yeah. It's kind of like the docking security area. They come in, the door doesn't open all the way, and so one of the stormtroopers just totally hits his head. Well, because of the fans, they loved it so much, when they did the special edition, they added the donk noise. So when you watch it now and you see that stormtrooper hit his head, that sound was added much later to emphasize this little fan favorite moment with the stormtrooper
That's
hitting
good.
his head on the door. A lot of the space battles where you're getting like the cockpit view is all inspired from old World War II films where you're seeing, and that's something that Star Wars
I
carries
could see
with
that
it
with the
today.
pilot where you're facing like face to face with the pilot.
Correct.
As they're
So
pursuing.
they pulled that from that. When we get to Yavin 4, the hidden rebel base, that structure was actually a former Sith temple.
Yeah, they talk about that in the books, the Legends books.
So yeah, that is a former Sith temple, so it's a little ironic that the Rebel Alliance, who are now fighting against the Sith leader, the Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine, are hiding out in an old Sith base.
Yeah, and one of the books, it was like after the Heirs of the Empire, the Thrawn trilogy, Luke sets up his Jedi Academy, and they go there, and there's like a Sith Lord that was trapped. His like soul is being into that temple, and he consumes one of like Luke's best like students, and who wants to be the best out of everyone. And so there's this huge battle, and yeah, it's kind of fun that they brought that up, that was a Sith temple. It's like that goes along with the legend stories.
Which I believe all of those were the designs and the filming of that was all done in Guatemala at the old Mayan
The
temples.
Yucatan
Yeah.
Peninsula.
The only CGI in the original film was in that scene where they're going over the plans to destroy the Death Star. So they're watching, the design of the Death Star. That is the only CGI in the original filming of the movie. Obviously, with the special edition, they added bukus, tons of others, some unnecessary, some that add to it, some don't. But that little sequence...
You don't like the giant ring after the Death Star blows up?
I actually like the
expanding
expanding explosion. I still think that's cool. Like
I
I remember it being in the movie theater and being like, whoa.
They enhanced the explosion.
Yeah, they made it so much cooler than it probably would have been in real life. But and this is kind of a side note in reference to that. Apparently, they didn't save that. So when they were filming Rogue One, they had to completely redo that. So like even though you see those plans in Rogue One, that was completely remade from scratch. That wasn't the original.
Oh, they didn't pull
CGI.
up the old floppy disk or the big giant computer
right.
reels.
For some reason, they didn't decide to keep that. Who would have thought? Originally, in the final Death Star fight scene, there was going to be another squadron, and that was Blue Squadron. This squadron didn't make it because filming it really didn't work with the blue screen.
Blue
and so
blue.
it didn't just, it totally just made it distorted, and you couldn't really identify it as a blue X-Wing compared to the red ones.
Yeah.
Which, if you watch R2-D2, he's not blue, he's like black.
Oh, for that reason.
For that reason.
It's navy blue.
So, yeah.
What was it?
He
What
got
was
a
it,
paint
Father
job
Yo-
right before.
Was it Father Yoda? It's like, it's not black. It's dark
blue.
Yeah.
Originally in the for the Death Star trench run, Luke did 2 runs, and you'll hear Wedge or Biggs, I think it's Biggs, reference that the TIE fighters are coming in faster this time.
But they only did 1 in the movie.
He did it once.
Got a gaff.
So there was actually twice. Luke did it twice. He failed the first time and was successful the second time when he used the Force.
You imagine those people, they're like sitting there and this guy's all like, rookie guy, just shows up out of nowhere. It's on his second run and then like, oh, let me just take my computer. What's going on? No, man, I'm totally feeling this, bro. I have this old wizard dude. He's telling me, oh, I can do this. Oh, we're dead. Oh, we're dead.
You just ruined everything.
The Empire's won. It was just this is the last time we give any farm boy an X-Wing.
This is our last shot.
So now we're at the final scene of the movie, the awards ceremony.
They should have given Chewie
Well,
a
I'm
medal.
getting to that. So all those people standing there, most of those are cardboard cutouts.
Yeah.
They're not real people.
I'm thinking of the clip where they have no music in there.
I would recommend. I think we did on a prior episode. We talked about this. Go look up Star Wars Without John Williams, and it's that scene, that throne room scene. And there's like, it's a great scene. The music's great, and it's very like bum
Triumphant.
ba-dum bum. They turn off all the music, and it's just like what that scene would actually be like in real life, and it's the most awkward scene.
Got a couple
ever.
cough coughs,
Yes.
a little like shuffle.
And then, the exaggerated Chewbacca yell, that was it's not even like a Chewbacca yell, it's just some guy yelling. It's like, "Ah! Ah!"
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
It is hilarious. I recommend you guys watch that. I still watch that, and I've seen it 1,000 times.
Oh, can I do a little movie plug? Like,
Sure.
So, anybody who watches the first movie and then starts watching the other movies, you start watching like, wow, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan are really bad at lightsaber fights.
Yes.
So somebody redid that lightsaber fight.
It was really cool.
You can just stop the movie. Like,
Is it on YouTube?
it's on
Yes.
YouTube.
Okay, I'll put it on our social media.
It is. You watch it and you're like, that was like the best. It's next tier, almost like Darth Maul and like the final Luke and Obi-Wan lightsaber fight level fight.
And
like,
there was a reason behind their movement. It wasn't the fact that like you're dealing with 2 old people swinging sticks at each other. George Lucas designed the choreography to be like that to replicate old samurai movie fights. Mm-hmm. So it's more about direct strikes.
strategy. Yeah.
Not so much about like swinging and black flips and crazy things like that. That came later. So
Yeah, and then you could appreciate it, and they try to do like backstory where like Darth Vader's still trying to recover from getting smushed on that one planet, and like where he's got a new suit, and that's why that kind of explains why in Empire Strikes Back his suit looks all nice and shiny,
Right.
because he's got his like original suit that's kind of like
Let's just
clunky.
face it. It's two old men fighting. It would be the same thing if, like, you know, us. We once had this epic battle, and then we meet each other 30 years later, and we're like fighting again.
Get over here! They're beating each other with canes, really.
Right.
No, watch that YouTube video. Like, there's a certain point where, like, I don't remember what it was, but it tells you when to, like,
Yeah.
stop
they
it,
do.
and then you just watch it, and it just fills in just right.
Oh yeah, very true. All right, last one I have. It's the medal. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so you watch the movie, you see Luke and Han get medals, and Chewbacca doesn't, and fans outcry for Chewbacca needing to get his own medal to the point where in the Rise of Skywalker, Leia wanted Chewie to have Han's medal, so it was a way of Leia giving Chewie his medal.
I guess you can have this.
Now that we're dead, you can have his medal.
You're the last one. Eye roll.
But actually, apparently they addressed this in an old Marvel comic. Apparently, the reason why we never saw Chewbacca get the medal at that ceremony is because Chewbacca was too tall for the short Princess Leia.
Oh, gosh.
And that he would have to put it on himself. That was the
He
reason.
couldn't take a knee.
Yeah.
Right. No. Nope. That's, yeah. Some people like to criticize that. It's like, that's specious, you know?
That's specious. What I have to say, garbage.
So, yes, those are again, I could literally talk for like an hour about all the references and things like that. There are so many little hidden secrets and tributes to other movies, but I think I'm going to end it there for A New Hope. I probably, half hour in? I don't even know.
A little bit over, yeah.
Yeah, so.
All right, I'll go speed round for mine. All right, I'm doing Empire Strikes Back. George Lucas paid for it himself. 20th Century had additional rights for just 7 years, but he did the whole thing for $18 million. How much do you think he made? About $500 million.
Yeah.
That includes like merchandise. That's where George
He
Lucas,
made the money.
He made his money on merchandise, just like Disney. That's what you do. George Lucas thinks it's a tourist film. This was prior to like Disney acquiring it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just so much conflict and like where do you go with this story and trying to set up for overall. So where this takes place, it takes place 3 years after A New Hope. Starts off on the planet Hoth, where they've only been there for a few months. And fun fact, Hoth gets down to a negative 60 degrees Celsius or negative 75 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty cold.
Yeah.
That's cold. I think we're still in the 80s where we're at right now.
In Arizona,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hoth scenes were filmed in Norway, and those snow troopers were actually filmed by the Norwegian Ski Patrol Rescue Team. And so George Lucas donated money to their group. So when you see them trying to like, they're not actors. They're just regular people who get to be in the movie. The snow monsters, known as Wampas, were originally supposed to be on a rampage on the Rebel base. They asked that if you look in some of the deleted scenes, you'll see C-3PO take off a like Wampa sign on the door, and then like you'll see stormtroopers open the door and get taken by Wampas. Well, that's where they trapped all the Wampas that had done a like base like rampage in there.
Oh, and there are Easter eggs in video games. They reference there's like anytime you do like a Star Wars game in the Rebel base on Hoth, there's always like a room full of Wampas.
Yes, and that's what it was. And if you really want more information about like or more about the Battle of Hoth, you can do the Battlefront book or do the Battlefront game. You really get more. In the Battlefront book, Darth Vader's coming out there and he is like ruthless. Like he brings out his lightsaber and he's slashing people and choking. It's fun. So if you want extracurricular kind of Hoth story, that's the video game and the book really add to it. Okay, we're gonna go to Yoda. Yoda's original name in one of the scripts was.
I have one little random filming thing.
Yeah.
That I always thought was fun. So there's a scene with Luke. He just gets out of the Wampa cave, and then there's a big blizzard blowing, and he's stumbling and falling in the snow. That was actually filmed outside the hotel room because there was literally a blizzard and they couldn't film. And so literally Mark Hamill had to get out there in the middle of a blizzard, stumble around while they filmed him through the hotel room window.
That's intense snow right there.
That's intense.
I just thought that was kind of a fun production thing for that movie. Sorry.
No, you're right. Just give you a heads up. I am not going sequential to the movie like Peter.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry if I took one of yours.
Oh, no. It was not one of them, but it was one of the things I just don't want you to feel like, I gotta get this in before you move on.
Right.
It's it's scatterbrain.
Okay.
I have different people, different things I pull from. And while I go through this, in the past, I've been wrong with some of my information that I've gotten. I don't remember what I was wrong about. But we did have discussions afterwards going, nah, that wasn't right. The e-tickets. The boat was an e-ticket.
I think I called you. I was like, I don't think
No.
right.
It's totally right. I read it on the internet. It's totally correct. Okay, so feel free to call me out on something because you get to read it on the internet and you're like, that seems legit. I didn't know that. And then you need somebody
If you
more
listen
legit.
to our last episode with the Disney lyrics, I'm starting to put that in there. I'm adding a little excuse me, this is incorrect. I'm correcting the information here. So you may have noticed that listening to that
Chief
episode.
is talking out of his, poodle hole. Yes, it's true. I'm not always the most credible source sometimes. But please call me out. All right, so Yoda originally in one of the scripts was supposed to be called Minch, and he was supposed to be a frog. Okay, we're going to Luke riding a tauntaun. They say that was, when they do the sky view, they say that was the hardest scene to film.
Oh, really?
Only movie to have a full-scale Millennium Falcon built. It was 60 feet by 16 feet high.
Wow.
All right, so this is a Pixar kind of Cheers reference. Major Bren Darlin, played by John Ratzenberger. Do you know who that is?
Yeah. He is in that movie.
He's in there. He's famous for being Cheers, for being the post office
He's a
character
mailman.
named Cliff. He's the mailman. And then there's Pixar. He plays Ham's voice, and he's in every Pixar film, pretty much. Voices in there. He tries to talk Han out of going to rescue Luke, so until right before he leaves to go, that you could see a young John Ratzenberger. All right, the tauntaun sound comes from the Asian sea otter, and the Walker AT-AT sound that fires is an old biplane.
Okay.
Han is the only non-Jedi / Sith to use a lightsaber in the original trilogy.
Yep.
And is not until the prequels that General Grievous is a user of the lightsaber. Which I have to say, he's more effective at it than Han Solo. General Kenobi! Hello there. Elephants were used as a reference for the AT-AT walkers, and that's a huge debate. Is it an AT-AT or an AT-AT? That's one of those battles of people.
My argument, it's AT-AT because we call the AT an AT-ST.
Exactly.
So
that's
it's
always
gotta
argument.
be AT-AT.
So you'll have somebody going, no. It's like the
AT-AT.
ABBA or ABBA battle, and you're like, oh no, move on. I can't do this. Sorry. Some more going on there like, it's totally ABBA. Me and my wife have this battle. It's like ABBA, and I'm all like, I don't know who that band is. Totally ABBA. All right. Wedge was not supposed to be in the film, but a cult following grew, and so he makes it into the film. For those who don't know, Wedge, the actor, is the uncle of Ewan McGregor, and he actually played Obi-Wan Kenobi. Which she tried to talk him. I was like, I don't know if you want to do this, man. You get this fan base, and it may not be great for your career.
But apparently, it did do well for him.
It did well,
Yes.
because we'll be seeing him soon next year.
That's right.
Scenes with R2 is taken by the Swamp Monster, was filmed in George Lucas's unfinished swimming pool. Boba Fett's ship was designed from a light post seen outside of the studio.
Okay.
Mark Hamill was in a bad car accident, and the rumor is they had to change the movie for that.
Yeah.
That's right. I
And
remember
the
hearing
truth
about
was they were originally going to show the Wampa attack on him. So the car accident didn't change how that was going to happen.
that. But it was a way to explain the difference in his.
So pretty much George
face.
Lucas ran into Luke Skywalker to, it's like, you know what?
save money on makeup.
He's like,
Yeah.
I'm funding this myself. I need to get this thing going. So, boop.
Save some money. Save a couple hundred on some makeup.
And this story is totally false. I am not doing any defamation towards George Lucas. Those are false stories.
That
Soon
is
we
a
get
false
a knock on the door. There's a
I,
lawsuit.
I don't want to be sued by George Lucas.
We're getting a call from George. Hey guys, that's not cool. I totally didn't do that.
I'm suing you for billions of dollars. All right, I'll dig into our
Defamation,
sponsorship for defamation. Oh no, we've lost our sponsorships. All right, in this movie we have Hitler and Donovan from Indiana Jones.
Yes.
So if you want to see Hitler get choked out by Darth Vader, this is the movie.
And there's like this crazy story.
the conspiracy theory.
The conspiracy theory that connects, Han Solo and Indiana Jones and Star Wars is like
James Earl
interconnected.
Jones
Yep.
through like the clear and present danger kind of.
Oh yeah, like there's this whole weird. That's a whole other thing that maybe we could talk about weird.
We can do the
theories,
Pixar conspiracy theory where everything's connected, and
as
then
well
you do
as
like
with
an
Star Wars and other things. Yeah.
That would be a funny one. All right, Carrie Fisher had to stand in a box with scenes with Harrison Ford because she's 1 foot less in height than Harrison Ford. We see Vader is a man in the film, with his helmet is secured to his helmet in his meditation chamber, and they say the meditation chamber is there to where he can feel the pain, and it builds his rage and strengthens his connection to the Force in the sense that the dark side. So that's apparently mobile, and it goes from ships to ship. But it's seen in his Executioner Super Star Destroyer, which when you see, you're like, I didn't think those things could get any bigger, but apparently they can.
They definitely do.
Let's see. Boba Fett actor can be seen without his helmet as an Imperial officer escorting Boba Fett and the frozen Han and the Cloud City. So if you really want to see what he looks underneath the mask,
The original actor.
the original actor's there. The AT-AT toy was 17.5 inches by 22 by 4, was the most expensive toy line, and boy was it the most fun toy that we had.
Oh, I remember playing.
Pull
with
it out there, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Questions people ask are, why didn't Vader want the Millennium Falcon? Because they knew Princess Leia and Han were Luke's friends, and he wanted to capture them. Boba Fett, and you go into the Marvel comics, Boba Fett was used to hunt down who was responsible for the destruction of the Death Star, and found out that it was Luke Skywalker, and that was hired by Darth Vader. So that's where you get some of the background of it, and then there you get the whole disintegration thing.
No disintegration.
And which we see that in The Mandalorian with the cool gun, where people just go poof. I love when those Jawas disappear. That was just funny. Okay, who shot C-3PO in Cloud City?
It would have been. Was it Boba Fett?
Nope, Stormtroopers.
Was it Stormtroopers?
Stormtroopers.
I thought I remember hearing there was like some story behind that.
Yeah. So they're Stormtroopers. People go like, how did Darth Vader get there before? Well, the hyperdrive was broken. They were still fixing it. They had to take the slow way to get to Cloud City, and that's why Darth Vader's there, chilling, and the dining
Join
room.
me for lunch.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny, Robot Chicken did a scene of like what that dinner was like. It was kind of funny.
Robot Chicken does the best what ifs.
For Star Wars? Absolutely.
Disney should really invest in that aspect for Disney Plus.
Well, actually, there was actually a TV series, which the first episode got leaked online. It was called Star Wars Detours, which was directed and written by Seth Green, the person who makes Robot Chicken. And it's like an actual Star Wars thing where they're literally making fun of Star Wars in cartoon form, which they made like 10 episodes.
Oh.
And they're just sitting on a shelf.
Oh.
They never got released until, I think just a couple years ago, the one episode got leaked.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Leaked, probably just to see if people would really care for it or not, probably.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so like the first episode of that is technically out on the internet. You can see that.
I like that. I'm gonna look that up. So there's those dark spot in Dagobah where Yoda is at, where Luke goes into the cave and fights his dad, and it's really him. Or fights Darth Vader, and he, oh no, that's me. You know, that scene. So apparently in Legends, Yoda defeated a Dark Jedi during the Clone Wars there, or 700 years prior. It's kind of ambiguous. And canon, it's not really explained yet, but it does have a Sith presence there, and that's why you have that kind of mysterious. Everyone's all like, Yoda's just chilling next to this dark spot. You're like, okay. And then there's another thing where I saw in Dagobah where Yoda's still living in his small like capsule, his escape capsule, and he basically built the fortress around it. I saw something, I didn't look too much into it, but I was all like, oh, that would be kind of sad. You know?
Right.
You have to live in there. George Lucas originally wanted Jim Henson to voice Yoda and portray the puppet, but Henson recommended Frank Oz, probably because Jim Henson was super busy at the time. They were both in London, and they developed a friendship. They're all like, well, we're like minds. We're like really great at what we're doing. And,
And if you want more of a background on Jim Henson and Frank Oz, you can listen to our Muppets episode.
I will get so teary-eyed in that.
Yes.
If you want to hear me bawl, that's the one. Han has, going back, Han was frozen in carbonite because of contract negotiations.
Yes.
They weren't sure if he was going to make it, and so it's an easy way of like, we can always thaw him out if he decides to want to play, Harrison Ford's always been very good at negotiations of like, well, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't.
He didn't really want to do it, but they offered him a lot of money, and so he's like, all right.
Yeah, and that's right around the time when Raiders of the Lost Ark was coming out.
Right.
And that was like, that was another money thing where he wasn't considered originally for that film, but he got it over, what was it, Tom Selleck?
I think so.
Yeah, that was the other. Which, that was an excellent pick.
Yes.
Harrison Ford for Indiana Jones.
Definitely. Probably his most iconic role.
I think so, and I think it's his favorite role. Because he always knocks Han Solo, like Star Wars. I think it's the Star Wars fans. You guys ruined it for us for nerding out around Han or around Harrison Ford.
Yep.
Empire in the original movie was played by a woman named Marjorie Eaton, and it's really weird because you see her eyes in the original film. They're like little kid, like something you get at a arcade award thing. They're like, here, stick these on your eyes and start talking like a dude. It's bad.
Yeah.
They redubbed that. And
it's not the same anymore.
No. But I remember growing up going, that's weird. He's in charge of Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looked like a Snoke situation where he's like, looks like he's falling apart.
All right, the scene with Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford as they meet Billy D. Williams or Lando Calrissian, they were actually hung over from a mystery alcohol Carrie called Tunisian Table Cleaner, where they were partying with one of the actors from Monty Python and the Rolling Stones, and it's all like, wow, what a crazy story there. So now I'm like, I want to watch that scene just to see, because they're like really giggly and like and they're like, it's not Lando's like charm.
Yeah.
They're still hungover. And if you want to know more about Carrie Fisher, like listen to her interviews about like Star Wars and her life.
Yes.
She tells an unfiltered story.
She does not hold
hilarious.
anything back at all.
And it is great if you want just good storytelling, and she's entertaining. Way better than Harrison Ford. Golly, he's the worst interviewer.
He is the worst interviewer.
If you do want to see the most awkward conversation, watch Harrison Ford interviewed by David Letterman. As David Letterman
yeah.
confronts him about action figures and not getting any money from it, Harrison Ford gets like, let's move on. Like, I just like, it's very serious. I don't want to discuss this at all. It's ridiculous. All right, back to Harrison Ford. As we know, or as a lot of people may know or may not know, is that the line, I know, as every Star Wars fan says to their significant other after one of them says, I love you, was made up by him. It was ad-lib by him.
He didn't feel that saying
I love you
too fit Han Solo's persona.
No.
I get it too. I like it.
And then you see that in the next film where Leia goes,
She throws it right back at
Yeah.
him.
yeah, I know. Right back at you. And so it's fun. You'll see it's true Star Wars fan couples will send the little gif of like, I love you, and someone goes, I know. Like, you just do it. It's fun.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yep. And I am done. So we're going to move on to Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, which it was not supposed to be called that. What was this supposed to be called?
Revenge of the Jedi.
Revenge of the Jedi.
That is the Jedi way. It's revenge.
Which
That is the path of the Jedi.
apparently they already released.
Slash their tires and egg their cars. That's what we do.
You don't know the eye patch. So they released some posters with that title, Revenge of the.
It went like almost all the way, almost up to the opening of the film.
Yep,
that
and
it was
so
referenced.
It was like, really? That's what Jedi do?
they what they did with those extra posters once they changed the title is they sold them for like $9.
And now those things were
priceless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially if they're in good condition, those things are worth a pretty penny.
But something I didn't know. So the reason why, one of the reasons why they changed it to Return of the Jedi was not just because it was Luke becoming a Jedi, but it was more of Vader returning to the light side.
I like that. That's nice.
So.
Dual meaning.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. I always thought it was like, nope, I'm Luke, I'm back.
Yeah. So it was actually Darth Vader coming back to the light side. Return of the Jedi.
I mean, it goes to the whole prophecy about the one who'll bring balance to the Force. It really was.
Boy,
Anakin.
did he bring balance.
Wiped out the Jedi and the Sith.
You watch episode 1 and you see that where they're like talking about like they'll bring balance to Force. Do you guys not see you guys are disproportionately like in power here?
Yeah.
There's 2 here and there's 500 of you guys.
Oh, we like this prophecy.
No.
Like, boy, you guys are horrible at math. Quantifiably, this doesn't work out.
So there was a Jabba costume, right? That cost $500,000.
Whoa.
And what was like 6 people had operated?
Yes. There's a funny story about that. I want to share this because it's absolutely hilarious. So, like, they were having fun with Harrison Ford in that costume so much. Ticked Harrison Ford off so much that he went up to George Lucas and says, I demand that they get fired.
Oh, dang.
He says, I will not come out and film until they are fired. And so George
They'll
Lucas,
come back with fake
George,
mustaches.
and George Lucas goes, okay, well, I don't know if it was George Lucas or the director, but they're like, well, we don't really have replacement puppeteers.
Yeah,
So he went over there and talked to him and like said like, listen guys, like you need to cut it out. And the funny thing is, like, they also worked on the Endor set as well with him later on. He had no idea because they were in the Jabba thing, so it was just kind of funny. How, like, it was all like, hush, hush, don't tell, you guys don't.
Well, and in the Return of the Jedi movie, there was a lot of issues with the cast and production. A lot of people left mid-movie in the production side. A lot of actors were mistreated by certain people in charge, and so there was a lot of
it was a toxic work environment.
Yes, it was not a good work environment. So let's see here. Back to the movie. Princess Leia on her helmet on the in the speedster.
Yeah, on the speeder bike.
Yeah, on the speeder
On
bike.
Endor.
Says 1138, referencing
1138. Yep.
Yep. In Return of the Jedi, Luke is wearing all black. And going back to other movies, the first one he wears white, second one he wears gray, third one he wears black, showing that he is on the dark side, or he's playing with the dark side force.
Running with the devil.
Well, I mean, you do see Luke Skywalker. The first thing you see Luke Skywalker do is choke Gamora and guard.
That's true. I thought he was just like making him sleepy, and he's got sleep apnea.
Oh,
He's
is that what it is?
Yeah, he's like sleep. I mean, that's a lot of pressure on the chest. They say if you're overweight, you're more likely to have sleep apnea. I'm just thinking that. I'm an apologist for Luke. I'm sorry.
So Luke's saber was supposed to be blue, but they changed it to green because they cut out a scene of him making his saber.
Yeah.
And so that way they changed it to green, so that way it wasn't confusing to fans that he got his saber back.
He got a new lightsaber.
Yeah.
Let's see here. George Lucas did not know that Boba Fett was going to be popular.
Yes.
And if he knew that he was going to be popular, he probably would have given him a bigger, better death scene of him dying.
It was anticlimactic.
Or at least let him live.
Yeah.
He does.
Well,
yes.
He lives.
We're getting that at the end of this
and
year.
So, I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because we get more Boba Fett. So, you know.
Well, so far, I'm loving the new Boba Fett stuff we have gotten. So.
Yeah.
Yes, it goes along. It's going great.
Leia kills Jabba by a chain similar to a scene in The Godfather.
How kinky.
Especially in that scene, she's wearing like her classic
Slave
outfit. And apparently the costume department hated Carrie Fisher because she would complain a lot. And so...
what, a princess on set? Jeez,
And
what
so, apparently, and this is a rumor, of course, but apparently they made the slave costume extra uncomfortable, and they had great joy in that.
Be nice to other people. Just
Yeah.
be nice.
Yeah. Han Solo was supposed to die in the original series, but it would have been harder to sell his toys, so they nixed that.
Oh, so like, was he supposed to die in Empire, or was he supposed to die in...
I think it was both.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I think that was part of it, is that he was going to die in Return as well. Harrison Ford did not care much for Han Solo. Well, he was like, he knew, like, as a character, he felt like that's the way his character should go.
I think so, yeah.
And that's why
he
we
wasn't
got
meant to
his,
be domesticated by Princess Leia.
Right, like, that's why we got his death scene in Force Awakens, is because I think Harrison Ford was like, I'll come back, but
You gotta kill me off.
You gotta kill me.
Yeah.
But then I get to show up in like a memory
Yes.
in the movie. We'll talk about that later.
Akbar, what's his famous line?
That's a trap!
Was rumored that he was a slave to Grand Moff Tarkin?
Moff Tarkin.
Yes. And
The boots guy.
Yeah. And when he got freed, that's how he learned the secrets of the Empire and worked his way up in the rebellion.
You get more of his story in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Endor scene was filmed in the Redwood Forest.
The Dune scenes were filmed outside of Yuma. I remember because we were driving there. We were going to like our great-grandfather's funeral, and I remember Dad's like, "Oh, that's where Return of the Jedi is," and I was like staring out in the desert, just like, "Where's the ships? I don't see anything." I'm only 5 at the time. So dumb. Dad had me looking out the window of the desert, and I'm just thinking, he's brilliant. How do I shut my 5-year-old up in the car? And there's no television, and we're driving in the desert. Oh, Star Wars is out there. Really? So stupid.
So at the end of Return of the Jedi scene of the remastered one, where they show different celebrating scenes
The special edition. Yeah.
Yes, on the different planets. On one of them, you can see a stormtrooper crowd surfing.
I saw that one. Yeah, that was a good one.
And I was like, oh, that's just funny.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, the Emperor's voice. His technique was a actor's technique. I think it was like Japanese or something, to project from your stomach. And so that's,
use your diaphragm.
yeah, and that's how he was really cast into that part.
You want this, don't you?
Apparently the word Ewok was never said in the movie.
Nope. It was not.
Yeah.
That came later.
And yeah, that's all my facts.
Fun.
What was the one? I had one that I was going to say about Return of the Jedi. But I can't remember. Oh, yes, Captain Rex. Not the one from Star Tours, but the one from Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you'll see an older gentleman with a white beard.
They say that's
They
him.
say that's Captain Rex, like an old clone. So we could say he's there, he's fighting.
Well, because it's said at the end of Rebels that he was at the Battle of Endor.
Yeah, and so you can associate, like, that's Captain Rex.
That's cool.
For those who are the Clone War fans.
Mm-hmm.
I always recommend it. People are like, oh, it's a cartoon. It's like, it really fills in.
You get past that first season, it gets really good.
It really fills in the story, and you get more sense of, like, the Jedi backstory and stuff like that.
I remember one person, they were complaining about Star Wars. They were all like, man, like, it's always like wars fighting. It's like, well, that's kind of the name of the movie.
Star Wars.
It's like, it's not called Star Peaceful Time.
Yeah. Okay, so that concludes our episode of Star Wars Secrets. If you got some secrets or you want to correct our secrets, which that's probably high possibility, right?
There's probably some facts in here that we probably all
we threw
got
out
wrong.
there, and they're probably not true. Correct us. Leave us a message on our social medias, and we will. We love hearing from you. So, Instagram, Facebook, follow us anywhere.
Tell us what your favorite. Tell us something that you learned.
Yes, or
What-
something that we didn't say.
Yes.
That you know.
Because there are tons.
Because I like learning about Star Wars.
Yes,
We
it's,
grew up
it's
just
a very
loving this.
fun thing. Tell your friends. Let your friends know, and yeah.
With that being said, Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember,